Chapter 11. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Two old horses trotted along the official road in the suburbs of Changle County, one in front and one behind. Xiaoyun had a sullen face and led the way in front, without any intention of getting close to his new boss. Gu Cheng was also happy to be quiet, and followed silently behind, looking relaxed as if he was traveling. The two of them were silent all the way, concentrating on their journey. It was not until dusk that they arrived at the destination of this trip, Gaojia village. The scale of the village is not large, with about 200 households, and there are vast fields outside the village. Several villagers with patches on their clothes are still working hard in the ridges of the fields. Gu Cheng and Xiaoyun rode along the road and soon attracted the attention of these villagers. After seeing the official uniforms on the two, they were shocked and hurriedly dropped the farm tools in their hands and ran towards the village. This exaggerated reaction gave people a sense of déjà vu of the devils entering the village. The two men dismounted and walked into the village holding the reins. After a while, an old village chief with white hair and beard came up to them in the crowd of villagers. After learning the purpose of Gu Cheng and Xiaoyun's coming here, he couldn't help but relax his expression and respectfully invited them to his home. "Two officers, are you the only two who came to exorcise the demons this time?" that the old village chief carefully asked while serving hot tea. "Why? Isn't it enough to have two of us?" Gu Cheng took the teacup and blew the hot air. "Stop talking nonsense. Just tell us where to go, who to kill, and how many to kill. You don't have to worry about the rest." The old village chief looked embarrassed and looked back and forth between the two. The big guy was fine. He looked strong and powerful, and he was obviously a martial arts master. As for the young man leading the group, he was very handsome. When he went out of the village to greet him, the pretty widow at the head of the village had her eyes gleaming with green. But how could such a tender-skinned young man look like someone who could kill monsters? The old village chief secretly complained in his heart, thinking that the gentlemen in the county were still perfunctory as before. They just arranged two people to go through the motions, and had no intention of helping the villagers solve the monster problem. But he didn't dare to say it out loud. He had to try his luck and took out a map of the surrounding area of Gaojia village and spread it on the table. "Look, sir, the monster had been active in the area of Baichao Mountain before. Here are a lot of herbs. There are several pharmacies in the city that are supplied by here. It's a pity that since the monster started to cause trouble, the herbal farmers in the village no longer dare to go up the mountain to collect herbs." The old village chief patiently introduced the situation here. Gu Cheng drank hot tea while memorizing the signs on the map. The sky gradually darkened, and it was dinner time in a blink of an eye. The old village chief naturally did not dare to neglect the two officers, and was about to kill chickens and sheep to entertain them, but was rejected by Gu Cheng. "You should keep the chickens and ducks in the village for yourselves." Gu Cheng drank the tea, picked up his sword, stood up and walked out of the house. "It's not too late now. I'll go kill the monsters on the mountain. When I come back, I can just use the monster meat as a midnight snack." "Ah." Puff. Listening to these outrageous words that were said lightly, the old village chief was confused and thought that there was something wrong with his ears. Xiaoyun's reaction was even more exaggerated, and he sprayed the tea in his mouth on the spot. "Ahem. No, wait a minute." He hurriedly chased out of the house, stopped Gu Cheng, and asked unhappily. "How come you don't even have this common sense? Going up the mountain in the dark is a taboo, and the night is the home of demons." "Well, I understand." Gu Cheng looked up at the big guy and said lightly. "If you are afraid, stay here. I can go alone." After breaking through to the Qi and blood realm, his eyesight has improved significantly, and he can see through fire even at night. At the same time, in the dark environment, Gu Cheng's breath shielding can better hide himself, which is more suitable for him to perform assassination tactics. However, in the eyes of outsiders who don't know the truth, this kid is a little bit too long. Xiaoyun took a deep breath, looking at Gu Cheng. It was like looking at a crazy fool. Originally, he thought that he was just a tool this time to help the relatives who mixed meritorious service to guild. Xiaoyun was unhappy, but as long as Gu Cheng was willing to wait for the victory, he would accept it for the sake of his monthly salary. But he never thought that this young Master Gu was so ungrateful. "Forget it," since you are so stubborn, you can't blame others for being eaten by the monster. Xiao Yun sighed in his heart that he sighed and made way without saying a word. Gu Cheng was too lazy to explain. If the other party really followed him, he would have to be careful of being robbed. The two parted ways. Xiao Yun looked at Gu Cheng's back, shook his head, turned around and walked back to the old village chief's house. About half an incense stick of time passed. Bang! Xiao Yun's face was tense and he pushed the door open again. Bah! I almost forgot that guy is my boss after all. If he really has any problems, I can't escape the responsibility. The young man cursed inwardly and quickly chased in the direction where Gu Cheng had left before. The forest was shrouded in darkness, and the moonlight sprinkled through the sparse leaves, casting a strange shadow. The trees swayed in the night wind, making a gloomy hissing sound. Xiao Yun carried a single knife in his hand and galloped through the forest. The rugged mountain road of Baichao Mountain was as easy as walking on flat ground for a warrior like him who was good at qigong. Damn, where did that kid go? I heard that he was only at the 3rd level of body tempering. How could he jump faster than a rabbit? Xiao Yun stood in the woods and looked around. His mentality was a little explosive. He even suspected that Gu Cheng had not actually gone up the mountain, and his previous bold words were just for the sake of pretending to be angry. He searched for about a cup of tea. Xiao Yun was gradually losing patience. Just as he was about to go home, a faint flower fragrance suddenly caught his attention. This smell is... Xiao Yun's expression changed slightly, and he walked quickly along the fragrance. After passing through a bush, he looked up and couldn't help but choked. I saw a small lavender flower quietly blooming under a big tree 50 or so away. Under the moonlight, it exudes a little starlight, dreamy and beautiful. Is this nebula flower? Xiao Yun stared at the purple flower, and the shock in his eyes gradually turned into ecstasy. Who would have thought that he failed to find Gu Cheng, who was courting death, but accidentally discovered a natural treasure? This luck is really unmatched. Although it is a little young, it can be sold for at least 3,000 taels of silver in the county pharmacy. Equivalent to my 30 years of salary. Xiao Yun's eyes flashed with eagerness. His sister suffered from a chronic disease and had not seen any improvement after taking medicine for many years. With this windfall, not to mention being able to cure his sister's disease in one go, at least it can improve the family's food. Xiao Yun suppressed his excitement and walked forward quickly. As he approached, the unique fragrance of the nebula flower became more and more intense. With the bright moonlight, Xiao Yun found that there were many animal and human corpses scattered around the purple flower. It was as if they were eaten up and left as fertilizer. It was as if a basin of cold water was poured on his head. Xiao Yun stopped suddenly, and the surprise in his heart disappeared instantly. His right hand touched the hilt of the knife without leaving a trace, and he looked nervous as if he was facing a great enemy. TSK, no wonder there are monsters suddenly appearing on Baichao Mountain. It turns out that they were attracted by this thing. A gust of cold night wind blew past, making the flower fragrance that Xiao Yun smelled a little lighter. Instead, there was a pungent fishy smell. Swish! Amid the whistling wind, a beast claw wrapped in a demon fell down with a bang. With the force of breaking gold and breaking jade, it slapped Xiao Yun's back fiercely. Chapter 12. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a well-known martial arts genius, Xiao Yun was only 20 years old, but his cultivation had reached the peak of body tempering, and he was only one step away from breaking through the qi and blood realm. In addition, he practiced hard day and night, and his family's swordsmanship had already reached the state of great success. His comprehensive strength naturally far exceeded that of martial artists of the same level. Even if he encountered a demon in the qi and blood realm, he would still be able to fight. Unfortunately, however, the enemy Xiao Yun encountered tonight was really beyond his ability to cope with. Bang! The tall body slammed heavily on the tree trunk, shaking the dead leaves to fall one after another. Xiao Yun coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his face was as pale as paper. At this time, his state was extremely embarrassed, and the brocade clothes on his body were scraped into beggar clothes. There were 3 claw marks on his chest with blood, and his left arm drooped weakly. And he could not use his strength in a short time. Damn it, that Tang guy is using this kind of task to gild his connections. 2 qi and blood realm demons, they are just sending people here to die. Xiao Yun cursed inwardly, looking at the 2 tigers slowly approaching, his eyes full of anger and despair. it is said that there can't be two tigers in one mountain, unless one is male and one is female. The two tiger demons in front of him are like this. The tiger demon couple is one black and one white, one big and one small, and their majestic bodies are like a sophisticated killing machine, exuding bursts of fierce power. The two pairs of scarlet tiger eyes focus on the prey, revealing a sense of playfulness like a cat catching a mouse. Who did I think it was? It turned out to be a scumbag from the Demon Suppression Division. The black tiger demon grinned, revealing a mouthful of sharp white teeth, and said in a muffled voice. We had clearly agreed before that we would not disturb each other. Why are you going back on your word now? Are you reluctant to part with this spiritual flower? Sir, stop talking nonsense to him. The white tiger demon stared at Xiao Yun intently, licking his lips greedily. This kid has good cultivation, and his body is full of blood and qi. Eating this will be much more nutritious than ordinary people, Dot agreed. What did you agree on? Xiao Yun's expression suddenly changed, and he vaguely understood something in his heart. However, before he could think about it carefully, the two tiger demons approached slowly from the left and right, pulling his thoughts back to the desperate situation in front of him. The night wind whistled through the forest, like a sad howl, which gave people goosebumps. Xiao Yun clenched the long knife in his hand, his heart beating wildly in his chest. Just as he gritted his teeth and decided to fight to the death, and to take someone with him before he died, swish, a cold light swept through the air, cold and dazzling. The huge body of the white tiger demon suddenly stagnated, and a blood mark slowly emerged on the neck. The next moment, with the gushing blood, a hideous tiger head rolled down. The headless tiger corpse fell to the ground, deader than dead. Quiet. The scene suddenly fell into a strange silence. A man and a tiger looked at the white tiger demon that suddenly lost its head, and they all fell into a daze. As their eyes moved up, they noticed that in the blind spot behind the tiger corpse, a slender and tall figure stood with a knife. The eyes were bright and cold as ice. Gu Cheng. How could it be him? When did he come here? Why didn't I notice him at all? Xiao Yun's pupils trembled, and his mind went blank. Who could have thought, this unlearned and unskilled person in other people's mouths actually killed a chi and blood realm monster with one sword? A third-level body-tempering trash. What a joke. He is clearly an assassination expert in the chi and blood realm. A woo. A tiger roar of extreme grief and anger exploded in the forest. The exaggerated sound wave almost shook Xiao Yun, who was standing beside him. Wife. Ah. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. The black tiger monster's eyes were as red as blood, and the demonic evil on his body rose, and he flew towards the murderer who killed his wife. Its body size is larger than the white tiger monster, and its strength is also stronger. In a state of rage, his body expanded again, and his speed and strength increased greatly. Even if a warrior with high-level chi and blood met him, he would have to avoid the sharp edge temporarily. No. This beast has gone crazy. Xiao Yun was shocked, regardless of his injuries, holding a knife and going to help, but he was glared back by someone. Don't make trouble. Gu Cheng retracted his gaze, turned his body and easily avoided the tiger monster's grab. By 3 consecutive attacks. In his heart, he silently brewed the meaning of wind and thunder, which gathered on the long sword in his hand. Zizizizi. With a series of sharp electric current sounds, the dazzling lightning tore through the darkness, illuminating the battlefield and the woods. A sharp blade shining with lightning slashed from top to bottom, slashing head-on at the tiger monster that was flying towards him. Puff. A tiger claw as big as a palm leaf fan was cut off on the spot, and it flew to the ground. Under the high temperature of lightning, the cut was charred black, and not a drop of blood flowed out. Ah! The black tiger demon howled miserably, and the piercing pain on his wrist made his eyes clearer instantly. Fear came like a tide. The black tiger demon looked at the figure holding the thunder knife, and his tiger eyes were full of fear and despair. He immediately stopped hesitating and turned around and ran. But how could the speed of its 3 legs compare to the extreme artistic conception of chasing wind steps? Why are you running? Be good, I'll take you to see your wife right now. Gu Cheng stepped down with the wind, and chased after him with a flash. He held the knife in his backhand and stabbed it hard, like stabbing a watermelon, and pierced through the tiger demon's brain with one knife. The terrifying lightning exploded instantly, and the beast's brain was smashed into pieces, bleeding from all 7 orifices, deader than dead. Hiss! Xiao Yun's eyes widened as he looked at the 2 tiger monsters that died miserably, and he couldn't help but take a breath. Although it was just a glimpse, the swordsmanship that Gu Cheng just displayed was definitely more advanced than the family swordsmanship that he was proud of. And judging from the other party's free and easy appearance, his proficiency was far more than the great accomplishment realm. The cultivation of the Qi and blood realm, the amazingly powerful swordsmanship. Did he deliberately hide his incompetence when he did those ridiculous things like kicking the widow's door at night? Xiao Yun swallowed his saliva, with a lot of thoughts in his mind. Kill the first-level tiger demon in the Qi and blood realm, and get lifespan, 93 years. Kill the middle-level tiger demon in the Qi and blood realm, and get lifespan, 117 years. Remaining lifespan, 391 years. That's all. These 2 big cats are a bit weak, not as good as the pig demon last time. Gu Cheng wiped the blade with tiger skin, looked at the prompt on the system panel, and secretly complained in his heart. In fact, this is easy to understand. The young master of the pig demon killed before was able to display his innate magical powers in the Qi and blood realm, and he was definitely a young genius in the demon clan. This tiger-demon couple has nothing to praise except that they are stronger and faster. Even if they are in the same Qi and blood realm, they are far from being comparable to the young master of the pig demon. Forget it, it doesn't matter if my lifespan is shorter. After all, there is an unexpected gain this time. Gu Cheng sheathed his knife, looked at the purple flower with starlight not far away, and called to the big man beside him. Xiao Yun. Yes. Lord Gu, what do you want? Xiao Yun endured the pain on his body and walked over with a nervous look. This cautious attitude is completely different from his previous rebellious appearance. Didn't you say that going up the mountain late at night is a taboo? Why did you catch up with me later? Gu Cheng looked at the big man with bruises all over his body, and his expression was slightly strange. It's strange to say, obviously, he came first, but Xiao Yun encountered both the tiger demon and the spiritual flower first. It can only be said that the word Yun in this guy's name is indeed not in vain. Xiao Yun looked embarrassed. Before, he had always thought that Gu Cheng was an ungrateful teammate, a burden who didn't understand even if he won without doing anything, but now it seems that he has become the burden who won without doing anything. Chapter 13. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing that Xiao Yun was embarrassed to speak, Gu Cheng stopped asking. He pointed to a purple flower not far away and asked, "Do you know what this is?" This is the nebula flower, one of the main materials for refining the Qi Ling Dan. Xiao Yun introduced it like a treasure. Its flower fragrance has the effect of refreshing the mind, and can slightly improve the warrior's comprehension. Even if the monster smells it for a long time, it can also improve a certain degree of intelligence. Improve comprehension. So powerful? Gu Cheng's eyes lit up, and he walked quickly to the nebula flower. The previous few Krypton Life trainings have made him deeply realize the importance of comprehension. If he can improve his comprehension with external objects, it will be a great help to him. That's right, it's just that this enhancement effect is a bit useless. Xiao Yun followed behind slowly and continued. The fragrance of the nebula flower takes a long time to take effect, and it is only effective for those with mediocre qualifications. The higher the talent of the warrior, the less obvious its effect on improving comprehension. A martial arts genius like you, Lord Gu, is naturally useless. So in my opinion, it is most practical for you to take it directly to the pharmacy to exchange for money after picking it. A hint of reluctance flashed in Xiao Yun's eyes, but he didn't get too entangled. After all, in his opinion, his life was saved by Gu Cheng. No matter how precious this spiritual flower is, it should belong to the other party. Martial arts genius. TSK, this sounds really weird. Gu Cheng pulled the corner of his mouth, feeling very subtle. He is still very confident about his martial arts talent. If what Xiao Yun said is true, then this nebula flower will definitely be of great use to him. Not to mention that you can become a martial arts genius just by smelling the fragrance, but as long as there is a slight improvement in understanding, in the time dimension of decades or even hundreds of years, the total bonus effect is also considerable enough. Gu Cheng pondered for a moment, turned to look at the tall young man beside him, and asked casually. Xiao Yun, where did you learn all this knowledge of herbs? This. Your Excellency doesn't know, my father was a wandering doctor in his lifetime. I have been influenced by him since I was a child, and I have read many medical books. Xiao Yun's tone was a little erratic. Wandering doctor. Will the medical book of wandering doctors record the recipe of nebula flower? Then your father, a wandering doctor, is really high-end. Gu Cheng looked at Xiao Yun deeply, and did not continue to ask, considering the experience of the other party's parents' death and fleeing from other places. His younger brother is probably also a person with a lot of stories. Gu Cheng didn't get to eat supper in the end. It was already the morning of the next day when he took the nebula flower and went down the mountain to ask people to use a cart to transport the 2 tiger corpses. From the mountain to Gaojia village, the villagers gathered at the head of the village, looking at the 2 tiger monster corpses that were torn into pieces, and their brains were a little confused for a while. Oh my god. When did the city's police officers become so efficient? In just one night, they solved the monster problem on the mountain. The villagers were shocked, and their attitude towards Gu Cheng and Xiao Yun also took a 180-degree turn in an instant. The chickens, ducks, fish and sheep in the village still couldn't be kept until the new year. They were slaughtered on the spot by the enthusiastic villagers and given to the 2 police officers as a thank you gift. Gu Cheng was no longer hypocritical because he couldn't refuse the kindness. He shared the thank you gift and the tiger monster meat, held a barbecue party, and had a good meal with the villagers. Until the early morning of the 3rd day, the 2 of them set out on the road back to the city amid the villagers' farewell. Alas, the fellow villagers are so enthusiastic. On the way back, Gu Cheng rode on the old horse, looking at the various local specialties in the saddle bag, feeling a lot of emotion in his heart. In fact, he went up the mountain to kill the monster at the beginning, just for life and merit, but after receiving the villagers' heartfelt gratitude, even as calm as he was, he had to admit it, this feeling of being admired by thousands of people, worshipped and loved like a hero is actually quite enjoyable. Back to the Demon Suppression Division. Yaman, Gu Cheng and Xiao Yun carried 2 tiger monster skins and went straight to the merit hall to receive the reward. Although the strength of the 2 tiger monsters was a bit weak, they were still Qi and Blood Realm monsters after all. The faint demonic aura left on the 2 tiger skins caused the captains of the Demon Suppression Division along the way to look sideways. The Demon Suppression Division is not small in size, but gossip spreads very quickly, within half an incense stick of time. The glorious deeds of Gu Xiao and his companions going up the mountain to eliminate demons quickly spread. Hey, have you guys heard about it? A lieutenant lowered his voice and said to his colleagues in a serious tone. That new officer, General Gu, killed 2 tiger monsters in the Qi and Blood realm in one breath. Who? General Gu. Are you talking about that Gu Cheng? Don't talk nonsense. I believe you that he picked up 2 girls in one breath. Killing monsters. Can that pretty boy be a monster killer? He clearly took the credit from Xiao Yun. Didn't you see the wounds on his body? It's obvious that he had gone through a hard battle. But even if it was Xiao Yun, it's impossible for him to kill 2 tiger monsters in the Qi and Blood realm at the same time. Do you think he is Lord Lin? Hey, stop guessing, let me tell you the truth. You didn't see it just now. In addition to the 2 tiger skins, Xiao Yun also held a pot of spiritual flowers in his hand, with starlight and rich fragrance. It was obviously an unexpected harvest on Baichao Mountain. Isn't this obvious? It's obvious that the 2 tiger monsters fought for the spiritual plant, and both were injured. In the end, Xiao Yun took advantage of the situation. Fuck. This is also possible. What kind of shit luck did he have? It is said that rumors stop at wise people, but there are often fools in the world. This strange view, which sounds very outrageous but can roughly justify itself, quickly became the mainstream. Many lieutenants of the Demon Suppression Division who like to eat melons went directly to the Merit Hall to know the progress of the matter as soon as possible. The Merit Hall is very efficient. After all, few people usually go out to kill monsters, let alone come here to exchange merits. After Gu Cheng handed over the 2 tiger skins as trophies, he quickly got the reward he wanted. Arsenal Secret Order. Rubbing the bronze token in his hand, the young man's mouth curled up slightly. With this token, he can go to the Demon Suppression Division's arsenal and exchange for any martial arts and skills. The Chi and Blood Realm skills have been found, and the remaining lifespan is about 400 years, and there is another nebula flower to assist. I think my strength will get a qualitative leap again. Gu Cheng was so excited that he hurriedly led Xiao Yun out of the Hall of Merit. As soon as they stepped out of the door, a stream of curious, suspicious, and jealous eyes were cast at the two from all directions. Gu Cheng had expected this and walked forward with big strides. Xiao Yun hesitated for a moment, followed closely with the wooden box containing the nebula flower, and also treated the people around him as air. After a few days, he had a general understanding of the character of this General Gu. He was taciturn, did his own thing, and looked aloof and arrogant. To work under this adult, one must naturally learn to be a little more aloof. General Gu, please stay. As soon as they crossed the Moon Gate, a group of people came towards them and blocked their way. The leader was a bearded general, followed by 3 captains. The 4 of them were all tall and strong, and their aura was no less than Xiao Yun. They didn't come with good intentions. The crowd around them were excited and showed expressions of watching a good show. Chapter 14. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's up? Gu Cheng frowned slightly. The bearded general smiled slightly, cupped his hands and said, I am Li Tianhao. I heard that General Gu got a spiritual flower by chance. I came here to make a deal with you. Sorry, there is no spiritual flower at all. You heard it wrong. Gu Cheng made up an excuse and walked away. General Gu, what you said is meaningless. Li Tianhao took a step sideways and blocked Gu Cheng's way. His eyes swept over the wooden box in Xiao Yun's hand. His expression was half smile. TSK, this pretty boy is really lying with his eyes open. The fragrance of the flower is wafting out of the box, and he still dares to say there is no fragrance. Listen to me first, General Gu. That spiritual flower is actually useless to you. You might as well buy it and exchange it for money. Li Tianhao persuaded him with sincerity. It just so happens that I have some connections in the pharmacy. If you are willing to give it up, I can give you 500 taels of silver now, enough for you to go to Chunfeng Tower and have a good time for a while. What? 500 taels? Did you, a profiteer, have a conscience that was eaten by a dog? Xiao Yun couldn't help but roll his eyes. He supported Gu Cheng to sell the nebula flower for money. After all, the latter's martial arts talent was too high and he couldn't feel the improvement brought by the fragrance of the flower, but even if you want to sell it, it should start at least 3,000 taels of silver, right? Are you sending away beggars with these 500 taels, or are you bullying people who don't know the value of things? I said, there is no spiritual flower at all, get out of the way. Gu Cheng's tone turned cold. Are you kidding? This nebula flower is a treasure that can save life. Not to mention a mere 500 taels, even if it was 50,000 taels, he would not agree. Oh, General Gu, don't be anxious. If you think 500 taels is too little, how about 800 taels? I can give you cash. Li Tianhao still did not give up, as if he had won the other party. To show his sincerity, he also took out a stack of colorful silver notes, at least 1,000 taels, and his unyielding attitude also completely exhausted someone's patience. Are you here to make trouble on purpose? Get out of here, Gu Cheng shouted coldly and stretched out his hand to hold the hilt of the knife. In an instant, a cold and unparalleled knife aura spread out, firmly locking onto the bearded man. It seemed that if he dared to say half a word more, he would be hit head-on, and his blood would splatter 3 feet on the spot. Li Tianhao's breath was choked, and the whole person seemed to fall into an ice cave, staggering back 2 steps. Humph! Gu Cheng let go of the hilt and stepped over Li Tianhao. The surrounding lieutenants of the Demon Suppression Division were all shocked, wondering how this General Li was such a loser that he was actually scared away by Gu Cheng. Li Tianhao also came back to his senses at this time, and thought of his ugly appearance just now, and couldn't help but get angry. Damn it, what's wrong with me? How could I be scared by a loser who was only in the 3rd level of body tempering? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Tianhao was really embarrassed, and his blood surged for a while, and his face instantly turned red. He immediately put the banknote into his arms and turned around to chase after him. "Stop!" Li Tianhao shouted angrily, and his right hand became an eagle claw, grabbing Gu Cheng's left shoulder like lightning. Looking at this angry attack, it is obvious that he did not hold back at all. Not good. Xiao Yun was shocked and was about to remind him, but Gu Cheng had already made a move. He flashed and dodged the bearded man's sneak attack, and at the same time grabbed the man's wrist with his backhand. Gu Cheng's palm was slender and white, without even a thick callus, which was not at all like a martial artist, but at this time, it was like an iron clamp, firmly holding Li Tianhao's wrist. No matter how he struggled, it was useless. This. How can this kid be so strong? What is his cultivation? Could it be Qi and Blood Realm? Li Tianhao's eyes widened, and he got an incredible answer in his mind, but unfortunately, he understood it a little too late. Zizi. Gu Cheng's mind moved, and the wind and thunder flashed in his palm. Li Tianhao felt his body numb, and instantly lost his strength, and was thrown to the ground by the young man. Don't you want to make a deal with me? Okay, I agree. I'll sell you a kick now. Gu Cheng stepped forward and stepped hard on the right hand that the bearded man had just extended. Crack, the sound of broken bones was crisp and pleasant. Immediately afterwards, Li Tianhao's pig-like scream was followed, which gave goosebumps to everyone present. It seems that you are very satisfied, so I will take the money myself. Gu Cheng leaned over, took out the stack of banknotes from the bearded man, and put it in his pocket. Gu General Flag. You. The three younger brothers under Li Tianhao couldn't hold back when they saw this, and were about to step forward to stop him. What? Do you guys want to make a deal with me too? Gu Cheng looked up, his eyes cold. The three swallowed their saliva, hurriedly stepped aside, and said no more. Let's go. Gu Cheng called out to the back and strode away. Xiao Yun was stunned and stared at the side. He was stunned for a long time before he hurriedly followed, only a group of dumbfounded colleagues and a miserable bearded man lying on the ground, folding his arms and wailing. Am I not seeing things? Was that person really Gu Cheng just now? When did he become so powerful? Could it be that he had been hiding his weakness before? So, those two Blood Qi realm tiger monsters were really killed by him personally. Everyone was talking about it, and with the help of some busybodies, the news of Gu Cheng's strong rise spread like wildfire, and it became more and more intense. The emperor has no hungry soldiers. On the way to the armory, Gu Cheng took out the stack of silver notes, divided out a few hundred taels, and stuffed them to Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun wanted to refuse, but thinking of his sister who had been ill for a long time at home, he accepted it with gratitude. Master Gu. Xiao Yun hesitated for a moment and asked. You just did it so decisively, will it be used as an excuse later? Don't worry, nothing will happen. Gu Cheng said calmly. The Demon Suppression Division never prohibits private fights, as long as no one is killed. Besides, it was Li Tianhao who started it just now, and it is not my problem in terms of emotion and reason. As for taking advantage of the situation. Since I killed the two tiger monsters on Baichao Mountain, I have already ruined other people's good things, so why should I care about taking advantage of the situation? Xiao Yun blinked his eyes, looking confused. Don't you understand yet? Gu Cheng glanced at Xiao Yun, and sighed in his heart that this big guy was too naive. Let me give you some more tips. Baichao Mountain is rich in herbs, which is the source of many pharmacies in the city. Due to the tiger monsters before, many herbal farmers dared not go up the mountain to collect herbs. Think about it carefully. If the pharmacies in the city are cut off from supply, who will benefit the most? Who will benefit the most? Xiao Yun lowered his head and thought for a while, and suddenly a light bulb flashed. Of course, it will benefit the competitors of those pharmacies. Their supply will not be affected, so they can just hoard goods and drive up the price of medicine. So that's it, damn it. I was wondering why the price of medicine suddenly became more expensive a while ago. Xiao Yun gritted his teeth. After understanding the key to the problem, his mind suddenly became clear. Some things that he couldn't figure out before, now revealed the most essential truth like peeling off silk threads. Why did the two tiger monsters react so strangely when they went up the mountain to eliminate monsters? Why were they picked on by colleagues who had connections in the pharmacy as soon as they came back? Could that nebula flower be the reward for inviting the tiger monster to occupy the mountain and enclose land? The more Xiao Yun thought about it, the more frightened he felt. The Demon Suppression Division of Chang'e County is simply rotten to the core. It's fine if they are just sitting there doing nothing and being passive, but now there are people colluding with demons. This is just a shitty Demon Suppression Division. No wonder Lord Gu did so many ridiculous things before. If he didn't keep a low profile and tarnish his reputation, he would have been targeted by the parasites in the government and strangled in the cradle. Now that he has suddenly risen strongly, I think he has made all the preparations and decided to turn the tide and return a bright and clear world to Chang'e County, right? Gu Cheng noticed the change in Xiao Yun's expression and asked. Have you figured it out? I understand. Xiao Yun nodded vigorously, looking at Gu Cheng with admiration. Lord Gu, you have suffered so much in these years. Don't worry, if you have anything to do in the future, just tell me, I will do my best to help you. Gu Cheng was confused. No. Brother, what do you understand? Chapter 15. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Yun obviously misunderstood something. Gu Cheng was too lazy to explain this. After all, his younger brother's loyalty was rising, which was not a bad thing after all. After the previous small disturbance, many people in the government had already set their sights on this place. Gu Cheng asked Xiao Yun to send the nebula flower back to his courtyard. He went straight to the gate of the armory alone. The armory of the Demon Suppression Division is located in the center of the inner courtyard, which is a 3-story attic. The martial arts skills collected inside are dazzling, including unexpected gains from the confiscation of families in recent years, and family heirlooms actively presented by local big families. However, Chang'e County is just a remote town after all, and it is unlikely that any peerless magic skills can be found. Even if there are, they have probably been sent to the headquarters of the Demon Suppression Division to claim credit. Gu Cheng did not have high expectations in his heart, and he was satisfied with having a skill suitable for practicing in the Qi and Blood realm. Anyway, he has plenty of time. If there is a better one in the future, at worst, we can just change it and rebuild it. Gu Cheng showed the armory's secret order to a team of guards and successfully entered the attic. When he came to the hall on the first floor, he looked around and found that the layout of the armory was very similar to the library in the University Inn. His previous life, at the front desk, a middle-aged scholar with a long beard and elegant temperament was sitting in front of the desk, holding a book in his hand and reading it with relish. With Gu Cheng's current strength, he still couldn't see through the depth of this person's cultivation. I think he is also a martial arts master who is hidden. If nothing unexpected happens, he should be the administrator inside the armory. Are you here to exchange for skills? Give me the token. The middle-aged scholar buried his head in the book and greeted without raising his head. The catalog is here. Find what secret book you want. Tell me when you have chosen. Gu Cheng glanced at the title of the book curiously. He found that the other party was not reading any elegant poems, but a popular book of romantic stories in the market, and he couldn't help but feel a little strange. Well, this guy is not a serious person. Gu Cheng's eyes moved slightly, and he gently placed the bronze token on the table, and pressed 3 silver bills underneath, and slowly pushed it to the opposite side. The middle-aged scholar finally raised his head. He first glanced at the silver bills pressed on the table, and then looked up at the handsome young man. After coughing twice, he put away the token, silver bills and pornographic book together. Tell me, brother, what kind of martial arts secrets do you want? What specific needs do you have? Just tell me, I will help you find it, and I will definitely satisfy you. That the middle-aged scholar had a pleasant face, and his attitude was completely different from before. Gu Cheng secretly sighed at the power of money and directly stated his needs. I want the strongest Qi and Blood realm technique here. The strongest? Alas, you young people always like to be so ambitious. The middle-aged scholar curled his lips, as if he was no longer surprised by this request. While muttering, he took out a secret book from the secret compartment under the table and handed it to Gu Cheng. Here, see if you can understand it first. Gu Cheng took the secret book with a suspicious look on his face. flipped through a few pages casually, and a new prompt immediately appeared on the panel: Chi and Blood, rare, Blue Dragon 100 refining, not yet started, rare. Does this mean a rare technique? Gu Cheng's face was strange. It was the first time he encountered such a martial art with its own entries. Although the specific judgment criteria of this system are not clear, it should be more advanced than Wind and Thunder sword art, right? This book, The Blue Dragon 100 Refinements, was specially approved by the Demon Suppression Division headquarters and distributed to each branch. Its purpose is to screen talents and promote outstanding seedlings. The middle-aged scholar saw that Gu Cheng was silent, so he took the initiative to introduce the origin of this technique. This top-level Chi and Blood Realm technique can be ranked in the top 5 even if you look at the entire 12 counties of Yunzhou. It's a pity that although this Blue Dragon 100 refinements is strong, the qualifications required of the practitioner are too high. For a person with average bones, even if you give him 100 years, he may not be able to enough for entry. 100 years. So exaggerated. Gu Cheng raised his eyebrows and asked. Since the conditions for cultivation are so harsh, has anyone here succeeded in cultivation before? Yes, but that was more than 30 years ago. The middle-aged scholar answered all the questions for the sake of the silver bills. After that person succeeded in refining the Blue Dragon 100 refinements, he was poached by the people of the Demon Suppression Division. Now he holds an important position in Tianshui County and is doing very well. By the way, there is a girl named Lin in the government office now. She has quite good qualifications, there should be hope of success. It's a pity that the little girl seems to have another master, so she didn't choose to practice. Alas, with her talent, staying in a small place like Chang'an County is simply a waste of talent, that the middle-aged scholar sighed, his tone full of regret. The girl surnamed Lin. Lin Qinyan. When did she have a master? Gu Cheng looked strange, and a tall and cold figure immediately appeared in his mind. Gu Cheng didn't know much about this nominal fiancée. I only know that she has been gifted since she was a child, and since her father died in the mouth of the demon, she has been determined to eliminate all the demons on the Black Wind. Now listen to the meaning of the middle-aged scholar's words. Lin Qinyan's martial arts talent seems to be more outrageous than he had imagined before. Why are others all geniuses, but I am just an ordinary person? How can I play this game without cheating? Gu Cheng secretly complained in his heart, raised the secret book in his hand to the middle-aged scholar, and said decisively, I will choose this book, Blue Dragon 100 Refining. Are you sure? Brother, you must think it through, don't be stubborn. Sure. Gu Cheng looked determined. As long as others can practice this method, then he will definitely have no problem. It's just a matter of how much Krypton life he has. It's difficult to get started in 100 years. I've put all my 400 years of life into it, it's impossible that I can't even get through the door, right? Seeing that he was so persistent, the middle-aged scholar stopped persuading him, nodded and said, Okay, you know the rules of the armory, the secret books here cannot be copied, cannot be taken out of the armory, and are not allowed to be given to others privately in the future. According to the rules, you only have half a day to recite. I won't take your favor for nothing. Anyway, there's no one else here. You can recite as long as you want here. Go ahead. Thank you, sir. Gu Cheng bowed. In fact, for a hacker like him, the difference in time has long lost its meaning. As long as Xiaoke lives for a few months, not to mention one set of skills, even if it's 10 sets, he can memorize them thoroughly in the blink of an eye. But in order not to show too abnormal, Gu Cheng still found a wooden chair nearby to sit down, opened the secret book, and began to read it carefully. Crack! The exquisite teacup was thrown to the ground fiercely and shattered into pieces in an instant. Ridiculous! It's really ridiculous. Tang Baihu's fat face turned red with anger, and he kept pacing back and forth in the room with his hands behind his back. How did that kid surnamed Gu come back alive again? And he turned into a master of Qi and Blood Realm? Did he take some magic medicine? This plan is really a double-edged sword. Not only did he fail to kill the boy, but he also accidentally ruined other people's wealth and got himself into trouble. Uncle, Zhao Jinyan stood aside, too scared to even breathe. when he saw that Captain Tang had calmed down a little, he asked tremblingly, "What should we do next? What else can we do? Of course, we should get rid of that boy as soon as possible." Captain Tang sat back on his chair, his eyes dim, his face so gloomy that it seemed like water could drip out. "This boy has been playing dumb before. With his intelligence, he may have known who is the mastermind behind the scenes, and even the cause of his father's death, and, in short, we must not give him time to grow up. Just in case, this time, I will do it myself." Tang Yuan's fat face showed a ferocious expression, and a strange red light flashed in his eyes. Zhao Jinyan watched it carefully from the side, swallowed silently, and his body trembled even more violently. Chapter 16. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the armory loft, Gu Cheng pretended to recite for more than 2 hours, looked up at the sky outside the window, and estimated that the time was almost up. Then, in the surprised eyes of the middle-aged scholar, he stood up and returned the secret book. It was already dusk. Gu Cheng first went to the cafeteria to get a free dinner, and then went straight back to his own courtyard. Before, Xiao Yun had transplanted the nebula flower to the flower bed in the center of the courtyard according to his request. The purple flowers are fresh and elegant, emitting a little starlight, which looks particularly pleasing to the eye. As a bonsai, it is also quite good. Gu Cheng did not hesitate and found a suitable place beside the flower bed to sit cross-legged, sniffing the elegant fragrance of the flowers, and opened the system panel. Remaining lifespan, 391 years. I hope this flower fragrance will have some effect. Gu Cheng prayed silently in his heart, and then poured his remaining lifespan into Blue Dragon 100 refining year by year. First year, you began to practice Blue Dragon 100 refining. With the previous experience of tempering the body with sword energy, you comprehended it very quickly. However, due to your limited qualifications and weak meridians, you could never enter the real doorway. Third year, in desperation, you decided to sacrifice the efficiency of practice, slowly nourish the meridians with qi and blood, and take steady steps. 13th year, after 10 years of hard practice, you finally succeeded in opening the first acupoint. Blue Dragon 100 refining breaks through the entry realm. There are 36 closed acupoints hidden in the meridians of the human body. The way of practice for a warrior in the qi and blood realm is to mobilize the qi and blood power of the whole body to open all 36 large acupoints. Thus, the shackles of the flesh can be further broken, and the body can be transformed to a new realm. The more powerful the martial arts practiced by the warrior, the more significant the improvement brought by opening each acupoint, and the more difficult it will be. Those warriors who come from big forces have favorable conditions. Not only do they have various precious supplements tailored for them, but they also have masters to assist them at critical moments, which greatly improves the success rate of acupoints. Gu Cheng is currently alone, and of course he does not have these unique external conditions. He can only rely on himself to slowly grind in the most primitive and time-consuming way. Fortunately, what he lacks the least now is time. As his lifespan decreases rapidly, the major acupoints in Gu Cheng's body were also opened one after another like a broken bamboo. The 134th year, you mobilized the power of the whole body's qi and blood, and successfully broke through the 20th major acupoint in the body. Chapter 233. After 11 attempts, you finally broke through the last major acupoint in your body. The powerful qi and blood power, like a dormant blue dragon, quietly filled the 36 major acupoints, and the condensation was not obvious. Blue Dragon 100 refinements, perfect. Cultivation, qi and blood 9th layer. Remaining lifespan, 158 years. Hiss. Gu Cheng let out a long breath and slowly opened his eyes. The powerful force gathered in his body, and the surging qi and blood flowed through his body along the 8 extraordinary meridians. He broke through the 36 acupoints in one breath, and the changes in Gu Cheng's body could be described as a complete transformation. He clenched his right fist, mobilized the power of qi and blood, and swung it forward fiercely. Boom! A dull humming sound suddenly broke out in the air. The fist wind set off waves of terrifying pressure, like the roar of a blue dragon, shattering the nearby fallen leaves. Tisk, it's really a precious skill. Gu Cheng moved his palms, feeling the blood and qi that kept surging in his body, and couldn't help but marvel. the strength of Blue Dragon 100 refining is its fierceness and domineering power. It is a typical example of adding all attack points when adding points. When practicing to the perfect state, every move contains the breath of the Blue Dragon, and the power is not inferior to the martial arts with full strength, if it is paired with more advanced martial arts. The two complement each other, and it is easy to kill enemies across levels. Now if I meet the young master of the pig demon again, even if I let it use one hand, I can beat it into a plate of sweet and sour pork in minutes. Gu Cheng clenched his fists, with a proud face. Seeing that the remaining lifespan is still sufficient, he decided to strike while the iron is hot and try to break through the wind and thunder sword art to the ultimate artistic conception. The number after the remaining lifespan decreases rapidly again. Year 1, you continue to practice the wind and thunder sword art that you have already perfected, and try to further deepen your understanding of the meaning of wind and thunder. Year 5, you sniff the rich fragrance of the nebula flower and suddenly realize something, but this aura is not real enough and cannot be put into practice. Haha, this aura is finally not obtained by being struck by lightning. Otherwise, just recuperating, I will have to waste several decades of my life in vain. Gu Cheng nodded with satisfaction, and was quite satisfied with the auxiliary effect of the nebula flower. The subsequent deductions were occasionally fruitful, and the power of the wind and thunder sword art was slightly improved, but it was still unable to grasp the key points and achieve a qualitative leap. Until the 100th year, there was finally a breakthrough. The 100th year, by chance, you picked up the iron-cutting sword art that had been put aside for a long time. After your cultivation level was raised to the 9th level of chi and blood, this ordinary sword art seemed to have a new change for you. You suddenly realized that although the wind and thunder sword art contained the meaning of wind and thunder, its essence was still a sword art after all, and the sword technique doesn't need so many fancy things. Just kill the enemy with one sword and it's done. I was too eager to comprehend the meaning of wind and thunder before, which really led me astray. Year 119, you summarized and integrated the essence of the iron-cutting sword technique and the wind and thunder sword technique, and finally comprehended a powerful killer move. Your wind and thunder sword technique broke through the limit and comprehended the ultimate meaning of martial arts. Based on the characteristics of this killer move, you named it, Lightning Whirlwind Strike. Remaining lifespan, 39 years. Pfft. What a weird name. You also ran away from the Energy City. Aren't you afraid of being killed by the Big Elbow if you give it such a name? Gu Cheng's face was dark. This simulated self was really letting himself go when naming the secrets of martial arts. Although the name was outrageous, it would not be a big deal as long as the power was strong enough. Gu Cheng looked around and thought that the location of this courtyard was very remote, so he decided to experiment here. He stretched out his hand and felt an electric current surging in his palm. Several electric currents flashed on the saber beside him, and it flew out of the sheath and flew into his hand. The surging blood and chi gathered in his body. The azure lightning wrapped around the blade like a spirit snake, emitting a breath of destruction. However, Gu Cheng had just prepared half of this secret. The long sword in his hand could not bear the weight and broke into two pieces on the spot. He was shocked and stopped charging immediately. Gu Cheng waved his hand to disperse the remaining lightning, looking at the broken sword in his hand with a strange look. The perfect Blue Dragon 100 refining, coupled with the wind and thunder sword art that broke through the extreme, the power has far exceeded the scope of the chi and blood realm. Even if he did not use the secret of martial arts, but just a simple flat attack, the broken sword distributed in this government office probably can't last for a few times, right? Tsk, it seems that this move is too powerful, which may not be a good thing. Gu Cheng smiled bitterly and shook his head. With his hundreds of years of swordsmanship, he can naturally perform swordsmanship with bare hands, and no sword is better than a sword, but the power is still greatly reduced. Now he finally understands why those martial arts masters in the world are so keen on a handy magic weapon. It seems that I have to find a way to get a good sword. Gu Cheng silently noted this requirement in his heart. Then he calmed down and looked at his personal attribute panel. Host, Gu Cheng. Cultivation, chi and blood 9th level. Remaining lifespan, 39 years. Learned martial arts, rough bull fist, minor success. Iron cutting sword technique, ultimate intention, one sword shura. Wind chasing step, ultimate intention, breath concealment. Chi blood wind thunder sword technique, Ultimate intention, lightning whirlwind chop, chi blood, precious, blue dragon 100. Refining, perfection, that it took nearly 700 years of life. Gu Cheng's current strength has reached a new peak, the peak of chi blood realm, coupled with several extreme martial arts. Looking at the small piece of land in Changle County, it is not to say that he can run rampant, but at least he has the confidence to compete with anyone. It's just that the remaining lifespan is a little less. It seems that I have to kill more demons and evil cultivators in the future. I don't know when the next demon-killing mission will come. Gu Cheng's expression changed slightly. Speaking of which, he acted so high-profile today, which must have aroused the vigilance of Captain Tang. If nothing unexpected happens, the fat guy will be desperate, right? Oh, if that's the case, then I really want to see, compared with the pig demon, whose skin is thicker. Gu Cheng's eyes were dim, and the corners of his mouth were raised with a cold arc. Chapter 17. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days later, Gu Cheng finished his vacation after the mission and returned to the Demon Suppression Division to report. As soon as he stepped into the gate, several colleagues in the front yard immediately noticed the newcomer and their faces changed slightly. After these days of preparation, everyone in the government office knew about Gu Cheng's good deeds last time. The contempt and hostility in everyone's eyes had long disappeared. Instead, they were deeply afraid. Gu Cheng looked around, and everyone who made eye contact with him turned their heads away in panic, fearing that they would anger this evil star. Interesting. Gu Cheng grinned and strode forward. Wait until he walked away. Several lieutenants nearby immediately gathered together and whispered. Have you heard that Li Tianhao's hand has not been reattached yet? It is estimated that he is completely disabled. Hiss, fortunately, I didn't provoke him before, otherwise I would have lost all my limbs. Humph. This kid probably won't be able to jump around for a few days. Don't forget that Li Tianhao is a subordinate of Lord Zheng. When Lord Zheng comes back from Tianshui City, he will definitely be in trouble. Gu Cheng walked forward along the bluestone slabs of the corridor. As soon as he stepped through the moon gate, he saw a tall and cold figure coming towards him. Lin Qinyan still had that cold and calm expression, and the two female adjutants followed behind her. At that moment, it was just like this moment, the two looked at each other. Gu Cheng nodded and was about to continue to move forward, but Lin Qinyan suddenly called him. I heard that you killed 2 Blood Chi realm tiger monsters and broke one of Li Tianhao's legs. It's an arm, not a leg. Gu Cheng corrected, looking a little strange. What doesn't match Lin Qinyan's magnanimous figure is, her voice smells like milk powder, soft and cute. Lin Qinyan is usually taciturn. In addition to her cold nature, it's probably to prevent her baby voice from destroying her dignity in the government office. It seems that you also had your own considerations before. If Uncle Gu knew about it, he would be very pleased, right? However, you have to be careful, that Li Tianhao is Zheng Kuan's man. When he comes back from Tianshui City next month, he will inevitably cause trouble for you, so you'd better make plans early. After that, Lin Qinyan nodded to the young man and left. The two female adjutants looked at Gu Cheng deeply. Their eyes were very strange. The two of them have been following Lin Qinyan for several years. Today is the first time I have seen that Lord Lin actually took the initiative to talk so much to a person of the opposite sex. Thinking of the relationship between the fathers of these two people, I can't help but have some fantasies. Zheng Kuan, watching Lin Qinyan go away, after Gu Cheng tried to recall for a moment, his face showed a look of sudden realization. Zheng Kuan, the youngest son of the head of the Zheng family in Changle County, a young centurion in the government office second only to Lin Qinyan. However, Lin Qinyan, a centurion, inherited his father's establishment with hard power. Zheng Kuan purely relies on the family power behind him. If Changle County is compared to a Cheng, then Zheng Kuan's father is Huang Xilang. It can be seen that the Zheng family has a great influence in Changle County. It seems that I have poked a hornet's nest again. Gu Cheng laughed at himself, without any tension on his face. With his current strength, he doesn't need to take such a local tyrant in such a small county seriously. If Zheng Kuan commits suicide in the future, then he doesn't suggest showing mercy and helping his whole family to be decent. Master Gu, a greeting interrupted Gu Cheng's scattered thoughts. He looked over and saw Xiao Yun walking quickly, with an unconcealed excitement on his face. Did you pick up money on the shelf this morning? So happy, Gu Cheng looked up and down at the big guy with a curious look, seeing his eyes shining and his breath long, he was slightly startled and smiled. You have broken through to the Qi and Blood realm. Congratulations. He compared with you, Master Gu, I am still far behind. Xiao Yun scratched his head embarrassedly. Before, he was at the peak of the body tempering, and he was just one step away from breaking through. After the excitement of escaping from the jaws of death, it can be considered a blessing in disguise. General Gu went to the armory to exchange for a technique a few days ago, which means that he has also recently broken through the Qi and Blood realm. So, have I finally caught up with him? Xiao Yun's heart was pounding. He has always been competitive and naturally did not want to fall behind. Your talent is indeed very strong, but my talent is not bad either. And I also have the assistance of my family's secret medicine, which can achieve twice the result with half the effort when combined with the family technique. In the future, I may not be able to do it later on top, be the first to open up the 36 major orifices. Just when Xiao Yun was full of confidence and regarded someone as a target to catch up with, a small flag from the Demon Suppression Division hurried over and interrupted their chat. General Flag, Xiao Yun, urgent mission, please follow me to the training ground immediately. Oh, Gu Cheng and Xiao Yun looked at each other with surprise, and hurried to catch up. The three walked quickly along the corridor, and met many lieutenants who were also going to the training ground. What is the mission? It requires so many people. Xiao Yun asked as he walked, is it that the demons in Black Wind Mountain are rioting? This is an order issued by the headquarters of Qianshui City. The small flag officer hurriedly explained. They asked us to escort an evil cultivator of the Blood Knife sect, who was imprisoned here to Qianshui City. Blood Knife sect. Gu Cheng's expression suddenly changed, and memories surged in his mind. He didn't know much about the Blood Blade sect, only that it was a notorious evil sect, but he clearly remembered that more than 2 months ago, his predecessor's father died in a mission to encircle and suppress the remnants of the Blood Blade sect, so, the next person Gu Cheng was going to escort was the enemy who killed his father. When Gu Cheng and Xiao Yun arrived at the training ground, there were nearly 100 people gathered here. 2 centurions in silver-white official uniforms were standing at the front, explaining the precautions of this escort mission to their subordinates. These 2 centurions were in charge of leading the team. One was a fat man with a bloated body like a meatball. He was Gu Cheng's boss, Tang Yuan, the centurion. The other was a serious middle-aged man. Gu Cheng didn't have a deep impression of him. He only knew that his surname was Lu. Seeing Gu Cheng join the team, a glimmer of light flashed in the eyes of the centurion. He smiled and nodded slightly to the young man. Gu Cheng raised his lips and nodded in greeting. At first glance, the two of them looked harmonious and united, but when they left the county and reached the wilderness, who knows what would happen. At this time, a prisoner car pulled by 4 tall horses slowly drove over from a distance. The captains of the Demon Suppression Department followed the sound and looked in the direction. When they saw the graceful figure in the cage, they were slightly startled. Before, I heard Captain Lu describe the evil cultivator as so terrifying, and I thought it was a demon with a hideous face and could eat children alive. Unexpectedly, it was such a delicate and charming beauty. The torn prison uniform could not cover the hot body, revealing a large area of white skin, which made people dry their mouths. The woman's appearance was even more beautiful and charming, with a standard foxy appearance, only slightly worse than Lin Qinyan. The only flaw was a narrow knife scar on her right cheek, and no one knew who had caused it, even though she was imprisoned, wearing special handcuffs and shackles, and locked in a cage with hundreds of people watching. The female evil cultivator remained unmoved, and instead looked at the people outside the cage with interest. When she noticed Gu Cheng, a handsome guy who stood out from the crowd, her eyes lit up, and she couldn't help but lick her lips with her tongue. Her eyes were as charming as silk. This extremely provocative action made the captains present stare blankly. Don't be fooled by her appearance. Captain Lu frowned at the ugly appearance of his men and scolded them angrily. In order to capture her, we have sacrificed more than 30 good men, including 2 centurions. If Captain Lin had not arrived in time to defeat this witch, our losses would have been even more severe. Don't be lucky just because she is in shackles. In the dungeon before, there were no less than 10 officers who died because of their lustful audacity. Remember, she is a remnant of the Blood Knife sect. During the escort, it is very likely that her accomplices will come to rob the prisoner car. Captain Liu repeatedly ordered. Obviously he was very concerned about the task assigned by the headquarters this time. However, the idea of a certain Lao Lu was very different from his, robbing the prisoner car. Robbing the prisoner car is good. Gu Cheng stared at the enchanting and charming Blood Blade sect witch in the cage, and a cold smile appeared on his lips. If no one came to rob the prison car, how could he find the right opportunity to kill this evil female cultivator with a single blow? Chapter 18. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 3 days later, more than 200 people rode on tall horses, escorting the prisoner carriage, and marched on the official road in the mountains. Tianshui City, as the main city of Tianshui County, is like a shining pearl, located in the center of this area. Changle County is located in a remote area, far away from Tianshui City, and it takes at least 10 days to walk, in order to avoid long nights and more dreams. Captain Liu rode non-stop all the way, but even so, 3 days later, he only walked half of the way. It was calm along the way, and both the evil cultivators in the cage and the fat man Tang outside the cage were very honest. In the golden autumn of October, the weather was clear and the scenery along the way was picturesque and beautiful. If it weren't for the official duties and limited movement, Gu Cheng even felt that this was a group building organized by the Demon Suppression Division, and they went out for an autumn outing to enjoy the scenery. The sky gradually darkened, the escort team set up camp nearby and cooked. After a day of long journey, the captains of the Demon Suppression Division were already exhausted. They ate a few bites in a hurry and went back to the tent to rest. Soon, snoring sounded in the camp. Gu Cheng and Xiao Yun were both warriors in the Qi and Blood realm, and they were full of energy, far better than others. When everyone was tired as a dead dog, the two still had the leisure to sit around the campfire, roasting the fire and chatting. Changle County is surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, and the news is very closed. Xiao Yun fled from other places with his sister, and he is relatively knowledgeable. In addition to his understanding of medicinal herbs, he also dabbled in many other aspects. In the past 3 days, whenever he had free time, Gu Cheng chatted with Xiao Yun, which really increased his knowledge. Are you saying that 3 months ago, the Demon Suppression Division headquarters of Tianshui County carried out a big purge of the entire Tianshui County? Gu Cheng was surprised. This was the first time he heard of such a big thing. That's right. Except for those first-rate forces that have been friendly with the Demon Suppression Division for generations, all other sects or family forces have been thoroughly investigated by the Demon Suppression Division. The demonic forces like the Blood Knife sect were the first to bear the brunt, and so many heads were killed. Xiao Yun was very excited when he spoke, as if he had witnessed everything with his own eyes. I heard rumors before that after the Demon Suppression Division wiped out the nests of those demonic sects, that the Jingguan made of chopped heads alone was as high as 70 or 80 feet. Ah! So exaggerated. Gu Cheng smacked his lips and thought to himself that it was a pity, so many demonic monsters. If he were to kill them all, how much life would he gain? Humph! This is what those beasts deserve. Xiao Yun snorted coldly, and the campfire was reflected in his dark eyes, flashing with hatred from the bottom of his heart. Take the Blood Blade sect as an example. Their unique school, the Blood Blade Sutra, is a pure evil magic skill. Just to cultivate to the Qi and Blood realm, you need to use the blood essence of at least 100 people to nourish the blood knife. What is the difference between this kind of killing to practice and those demons who feed on humans? Speaking of this, Xiao Yun shook his head helplessly and sighed. Alas, no matter how unjust this evil magic skill is, as long as it can quickly improve strength, there will always be people who take risks to become stronger. The great purge of the Demon Suppression Division this time has certainly cleared a lot of scum, but I'm afraid that it won't be long before the magic forces like the Blood Blade sect will revive again. Gu Cheng nodded silently. In such a fantasy world where strength is supreme and the strong prey on the weak, the strong dominate everything, and the weak have nothing. As long as they can become stronger, what can't humans do? Those demons that choose to devour people are indeed terrible, but what is more terrible than demons is the unpredictable human heart. after sighing about this fucked up world, Gu Cheng calmed down and continued to ask. Since the Demon Suppression Division headquarters has such a tough attitude towards evil practitioners, this time they specifically asked to escort the demon girl alive, which means that her identity is definitely extraordinary. In this case, the remnants of the Blood Knife sect will definitely not sit idly by and will definitely come to rob the prisoner car, right? This shouldn't be possible. Xiaoyun glanced at the handsome young man with a strange look, thinking, what's the matter with this Lord Gu? Why don't you know how to hope for something good? As far as I know, the Blood Blade sect is a loosely organized demonic force, and most of its members fight on their own and rarely gather together. Now their top leaders have almost all been killed by the Demon Suppression Division, and the remaining remnants are busy with their own affairs, so how can they have the leisure to come here to save people? Xiaoyun's analysis was very clear and he looked very confident. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a shrill cry suddenly came from a distance. Oh no! That witch is missing! Someone come quickly, Xiaoyun. This slap in the face came too suddenly, and the atmosphere became extremely awkward for a while. Let's go. Gu Cheng stood up suddenly, ignoring Xiaoyun's weird eyes that seemed to be looking at Crow Mouth, and rushed to the location of the prison van. When the two arrived at the scene of the crime, the two centurions leading the team and several of their confidants had already arrived first. Gu Cheng looked inside with the light of the torch. I saw that the door of the steel cage was wide open, and the special handcuffs and shackles were scattered on the ground. There were 4 guards lying on the ground, all of them were beheaded with a knife, and their blood was sucked dry, turning into mummies. Such a horrible scene made the surrounding demon-suppressing officers pale. How could this happen? How could this happen? The witch was locked up well, how could she suddenly run away without a sound? Captain Liu was completely panicked, and anxiously circled around the prison car. What should I do if the elders in this department blame me? Humph. These 4 people must have been bewitched by the witch, secretly stole the key, let the witch go, and ended up being abandoned by her. Captain Tang was much calmer. With a wave of his hand, he gave orders to everyone in an orderly manner. The witch was seriously injured before, and was locked up in the dungeon of the government for more than 2 months. Her strength has been greatly reduced. Even if she escapes, she can't get far. You 5 people in a group, search separately. If you find the trace of the witch, immediately fire a signal flare to signal. Master Liu, you lead the people to the east, and I lead the people to the west. Yes, yes. Just follow what Lord Tang said. Captain Liu nodded hurriedly. The situation was critical. Although everyone had doubts in their hearts, they had no time to think about it and could only act according to the order. Gu Cheng was planning to act alone and take this opportunity to have a midnight snack. Captain Tang led 3 confidants to come over and ordered in an unquestionable tone. Gu Cheng, you have good likeness skills, so follow me. Gu Cheng narrowed his eyes slightly. What does it mean? Is this because he is afraid that a female evil cultivator is not enough to eat, so he wants to add a snack for himself? Isn't this too polite? I obey your orders. Gu Cheng nodded in response and left with Tang Baihu and others. Xiaoyun looked at the 5 people's backs as they walked away, and a trace of worry flashed in his eyes. Even he could see that the fat man Tang had bad intentions. Lord Gu could not have been unaware of this and must have relied on something, but no matter what, the other party has 4 Qi and Blood Realm warriors after all. Among them, Tang Yuan has the 7th level of Qi and Blood cultivation, and his strength is quite good. Is Lord Gu really okay alone? Xiaoyun thought for a moment, thinking that he is now also a Qi and Blood Realm master, so he should not be a drag. He gritted his teeth and immediately chased after him, and in the crowd not far away, Zhao Jinyan stared at Xiaoyun's back as he walked away alone, and couldn't help but sneered. He led 4 men and followed quietly. Chapter 19. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The moon was high in the sky, and the night wind was blowing. A group of 5 people used their Qigong skills to fly and move in the woods. Captain Tang took the lead, and his agile movements were completely inconsistent with his round body, and I don't know how he led the team. He just went deep into the woods. The other 3 confidants were located on the left and right sides of Gu Cheng and behind him, surrounding him in the center. I don't know if this was for protection or to prevent someone from escaping halfway. About a cup of tea passed, the 5 people passed through the woods and came to a wasteland. This is a desolate place with no people within a radius of 10 miles. It is obviously a good place to kill people and dump corpses. Tang Yuan suddenly stopped and turned to look at Gu Cheng with a dim look. What's wrong, Lord Tang, are we not going to continue chasing? Gu Cheng looked around with a smile on his face. That's enough. Gu Cheng, there are no outsiders here, what's the point of pretending now? Tang Yuan had a cold face and said with a fake smile. To be honest, I really didn't expect that you have been pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger for the past few years. You are really able to keep your composure. If your father had half of your patience, he wouldn't have ended up like this. What do you mean? Gu Cheng frowned. Tang Yuan smiled and suddenly blood appeared in his eyes. He spread his palms, and the blood in his palms rose and rolled, slowly gathering into a 3-foot-long blood knife, exuding a fascinating murderous aura. The other 3 confidants followed suit. The same blood flashed in their eyes, and the blood blades in their hands were condensed. Although the size was slightly smaller, the murderous aura was not weaker at all. 4 pairs of scarlet eyes stared at the handsome young man surrounded in the middle. There was no trace of humanity in their eyes, but they looked more like 4 demons who were choosing their prey. Is this Blood Knife Sutra? Gu Cheng frowned, and a flash of understanding flashed in his eyes. So that's how it is. For this evil skill, you guys have become traitors a few months ago. My father accidentally discovered your secret, and he was killed to silence him. So you guys let the evil female cultivator escape tonight? Where is she now? Humph. Go to hell and ask your father. Tang Yuan said no more, holding the blood knife in his hand tightly, and was about to take action. Wait. A slightly hoarse but charming voice interrupted the actions of Tang Yuan and others. Gu Cheng looked over and saw the demon girl from the blood knife sect, walking gracefully out of the woods. The loose prison uniform could hardly cover the woman's hot figure. He swayed with every step he took, and with his movements, a large area of skin was exposed, which made people's mouths dry. It would be a pity to kill such a handsome boy. Why not leave him to me? The female evil cultivator came closer, and looked up and down at Gu Cheng with a pair of peach blossom eyes, her eyes full of aggression. I have been locked up by you for so long, it's time to have some fun. Tang Yuan's face sank, and a trace of haze flashed in his eyes. Damn it. If you are doing it, just pat it with the sole of your shoe. Why are you being so coquettish? He wanted to yell at her, but he still needed her help, so he had to persuade her patiently. Mrs. Xue, what are you doing here? Didn't we agree on the meeting place? I changed my mind, isn't that okay? Mrs. Xue raised her eyebrows and said arrogantly. Don't forget, I only gave you the first volume of the Blood Knife Sutra. If you want the second volume, you have to do me another favor. She pointed at the knife wound on her right cheek and said with a face full of resentment. Go and catch the woman who hurt my face. That little bitch looks so noble, it makes people angry. I'm going to scratch her face and find 10 big men to torture her. I want to see if she can still keep her cool and calm look when being toyed with by so many people. This. Tang Yuan's face became even uglier. Lin Qinyan is a master second only to Qin Hu Darren in the Yamen. Even if she hasn't broken through the mortal realm, she should be close. Letting them capture Lin Qinyan alive, isn't that just courting death? Tang Yuan was dissatisfied, but he didn't continue to argue. After all, the most urgent task at the moment is to kill that kid named Gu as soon as possible. He clenched the blood knife and looked at Gu Cheng again, but he didn't see a single person. Strange. Where is that kid? Fatty Tang was startled and was about to shout a warning. Puff. The sharp tip of the knife suddenly pierced through the chest of the blood lady and pierced her through. Gu Cheng stood quietly behind the blood knife sect which with a sharp blade in his hand. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. Tang Yuan and the other 4 were stunned. What kind of body movement secrets did this guy practice? In such a distracted moment, how did he slip away from under their noses and sneak behind the witch? Strange. Gu Cheng frowned. with no joy of a successful sneak attack on his face. She was obviously pierced through the heart by a knife. Why didn't she bleed a drop of blood? The next moment, the body of the blood lady suddenly dissipated, turned into wisps of blood mist, and floated behind Gu Cheng. "Oh, are you so anxious to stab me?" the blood lady teased softly, and reappeared behind Gu Cheng, with a charming red light flashing in her eyes. She stretched out her white hand, and the scarlet blood mist surged to her palm like a tide, condensing into a blood-colored long sword. What a pity! I hate men who are impatient the most. Mrs. Xue's eyes were charming and her red lips were slightly opened, but her words were as piercing as the cold wind. "Let me teach you how to treat women gently." After that, she held the sword flower in her hand, and her body turned into a scarlet whirlwind, with a fierce murderous aura, and rushed straight towards the young man. Gu Cheng took a long knife in his hand and went forward fearlessly. The cold knife energy gathered on the sharp blade, and fought with the witch. For a while, there were swords and shadows, and strong winds whistled. The aftermath of the battle between the two alone shaved off a layer of grass under their feet. Seeing this, the three confidants were about to step forward to help, but were stopped by Tang Yuan with a wave of his hand. This Mrs. Xue went back on her words, and her words were like farts. If the conditions cannot be negotiated, it is only a matter of time before the two sides turn against each other. It is better to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight and preserve a wave of strength. Besides, with the cultivation of the peak of Qi and blood realm, wouldn't it be easy for Xuan Yang to deal with Gu Cheng? Why would she need help from outsiders? However, the two sides fought for only 10 rounds, and the situation suddenly changed. There was a crisp sound of clang, and the swords collided. The sharp knife energy and the bloody evil energy entangled each other, and finally both broke, but the dissipated knife energy was like the roar of a blue dragon, and it continued to move forward, breaking through the defense of blood energy and striking at the face of the demon woman like lightning. Xuan Yang couldn't avoid it, and a bloody wound was cut on her white left face, which was exactly symmetrical with the old wound on her right face. She screamed, covered her face and retreated repeatedly. How is it possible? Tang Yuan exclaimed immediately, looking at Gu Cheng's calm appearance, with a look of disbelief. This kid just went to the armory to exchange for a technique a few days ago. How come he has such a terrifying cultivation level in the blink of an eye? Could it be that he is a genius who is not inferior to Lin Qinyan, and has already broken through the Qi and blood realm many years ago? Humph, it is indeed an evil technique. Gu Cheng looked at the broken knife in his hand, his eyes moved slightly. With his ultimate iron-cutting knife technique and the perfect blue dragon hunter refining, he was only slightly better in the fight just now. It can be seen that the blood knife sect's unique skills are still quite something. Gu Cheng retracted his gaze and turned to look at the blood lady, saying lightly, "How is it, am I much gentler this time?" The blood lady reached out and touched the wound on her face. Feeling the burning pain, her face instantly became extremely gloomy. She slowly raised her head, staring at Gu Cheng with a pair of scarlet eyes, full of hatred, resentment, and a hint of hysterical madness. You dared to hurt my face. Okay. Force me, right? Then no one will live tonight. After saying that, the female evil cultivator clenched the broken sword in her hands with both hands and stabbed her stomach hard. However, this seemingly self-mutilation knife did not cause any harm to her. After the blood blade pierced into the abdomen, it suddenly spread out large groups of blood-colored mist, wrapping the woman's plump body layer by layer, and rapidly expanded and deformed in the horrified eyes of Tang Yuan and others. In a moment, the charming and moving beauty disappeared. Instead, there was a 4-meter-tall evil demon in human form, surrounded by blood and a terrifying appearance. Chapter 20. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Under the full moon, the huge blood-colored evil demon was like an ancient beast, roaring to the sky, shaking the surroundings and clearly audible 10 miles away. After the blood lady transformed into an evil demon with a secret method, the fierce power she exuded was no less than that of the demons that broke through the mortal realm, let alone this kid named Gu. Even if Lin Qinyan came in person, I'm afraid she could only avoid the sharp edge for the time being, right? Is this the true power of the blood knife sect's unique martial arts? It's really too strong. Tang Yuan and the other 3 close friends were shocked, looking at the hideous and terrifying evil demon with extremely fiery eyes, they risked harming their colleagues, colluded with the evil demon woman, and practiced evil skills. Wasn't it for this unparalleled power? What kind of evil method is this? It even has a second stage. But you suddenly became such a big lump, which makes it convenient for me to test the power of the new secret. Gu Cheng raised his eyebrows. Without any nervousness on his face, he threw the broken knife in his hand away, slowly raised his right hand, and his 5 fingers were as slender as a knife. The idea of wind and thunder brewed in his mind, and the blood in his body rose like a raging sea. Kill you! Kill you! That the bloody evil demon opened his mouth and let out a piercing roar. Like a monster, he got on all fours and pounced on the handsome young man. Zizi! A fine electric current sounded. The dazzling lightning, lingering on Gu Cheng's right hand, was like a thunder blade, dazzling. 36 major orifices exerted force at the same time, and the surging blood roared like a blue dragon, like a raging wave, instantly pushing his own momentum to the peak. Driven by this unparalleled force of blood and chi, the azure lightning became more and more dazzling, emitting a heart-pounding breath of destruction. Gu Cheng took a step forward, and swung his finger like a knife in the air. Boom! It was like a thunderclap in the plain, deafening. A huge thunder slash roared out, with a shriek that tore through the air, and slashed at the blood demon with overwhelming force. A trace of fear flashed instinctively in the eyes of the blood demon, but before he could react, he was hit by the thunder slash and cut into 2 pieces on the spot. The terrifying lightning exploded instantly, and the wind whistled. The huge body of the blood demon instantly exploded into a mass of blood mist. And then slowly dissipated under the dissipating sword energy, revealing the charred body of the blood lady that was broken into 2 pieces. Kill with 1 knife. The air suddenly fell into a deathly silence. Tang Yuan and the others stared at the broken corpse of the blood lady, whose eyes were still open. Their minds went blank. The blood blades in their hands also dissipated on the spot because of fear. They really couldn't imagine that the blood lady, whose strength was comparable to that of a demon in the mortal realm, was so fierce before. How could she be cut in half in the blink of an eye? Hiss! Good power, but unfortunately, like the one-sword Shura, this lightning whirlwind chop can only cut once. And this bare-handed performance is also a big burden on the body. Gu Cheng felt the tingling pain in his right hand and concluded in his heart, because he performed the secret with bare hands, he actually only exerted 80% of his strength. If he had a handy sword, the power of this move would be even higher. Then the question is, how can I get a good knife? Just as Gu Cheng was thinking secretly in his heart, Tang Yuan and others on the side finally recovered from their shock. Then without hesitation, they turned around and ran. Their skills were good, and under the threat of death, they showed the best speed in their lives. Humph! You run quite fast. Gu Cheng snorted coldly, stretched out his right hand, and the current surged in his palm. After breaking through the extreme state of mind in wind and thunder sword art, he also had some unique understanding of the meaning of wind and thunder, combined with the physics knowledge learned in the previous life. He can even use electricity to generate magnetism, control metals in the air, and simply cos magneto. As Gu Cheng silently urged the meaning of wind and thunder, the long swords on the waists of Tang Yuan and the other 4 trembled violently, and the blue current flowed on the blade. Then it was as if it was held by an invisible big hand, flying out of the scabbard in the air, and turned to cut their respective owners. Fatty Tang and the others had never seen such a strange attack method before, and they were completely caught off guard. The 3 confidants reacted the slowest, and were cut on the neck by the flying knife on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere, and they were deader than dead. Tang Yuan's cultivation was the highest among the 4, and his reaction was also faster. He actually avoided this fatal blow at the cost of an injured arm. Seeing that the fat man was about to escape into the woods, Gu Cheng frowned, reached out, and sucked in the broken knife that he had thrown away before in his hand. At this time, Xiao Yun, Zhao Jinyan and others who were attracted by the fighting just now also happened to come here, just happened to face Tang Yuan who was fleeing. Uncle, Zhao Jinyan looked at Tang Yuan's frightened and embarrassed appearance, and couldn't help but be shocked. Jinyan! Why are you here? Run! Quick! Fat Tang hadn't finished speaking yet. A broken knife wrapped in azure lightning came like a cannonball, and pierced his chest with one blow. and with amazing force, it flew a distance with Tang Yuan's fat body and nailed him to a big tree. With a loud bang, the withered yellow leaves fell one after another. Tang Yuan suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, a trace of unwillingness flashed in his eyes, and then gradually lost focus. This. Xiao Yun blinked his eyes, looking at Tang Baihu who was nailed to the tree, with a confused face. After noticing the remains of the blood lady that had been cut in half, he was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. No. I was here to help. Why did you kill all the enemies as soon as I arrived at the battlefield? You even killed that demon witch. Isn't your efficiency in killing the enemies too high? Also, haven't I broken through the Qi and Blood realm? Why do I feel that the gap between me and Master Gu is getting bigger and bigger? Thinking of how I vowed a few days ago to regard Gu Cheng as my goal to catch up with and surpass in the future, Xiao Yun swallowed his saliva and couldn't help but fall into deep self-doubt. Uncle! Uncle! Zhao Jinyan looked at Fatty Tang's body in horror, and suddenly he was struck by lightning, and collapsed to the ground, sweating all over. Looking at the handsome figure approaching slowly, he was so scared that his voice became distorted. Gu Cheng! You plotted to murder your superiors, and you are trying to rebel? You are done. You are dead. Killing your colleagues is a taboo in the government. The 1,000 households will never let you go. Zhao Jinyan shouted hoarsely, like a madman. His other 4 men were much more sober. They all knelt on the ground, kowtowed like crazy, and begged for mercy, hoping that the evil star would spare their lives. However, Gu Cheng was not moved at all. The cold knife energy flashed by, and the 4 lackeys were killed in an instant, leaving only Zhao Jinyan. Xiao Yun. Gu Cheng looked back. Ah. Lord Gu, what do you want? Xiao Yun woke up from his dream. Didn't you say before that I can tell you anything? Now it's time. Gu Cheng pointed at the coward who was already scared to death and said lightly. Clean up this place and don't leave any clues. Yes, sir. Xiao Yun immediately understood, took a deep breath, and walked towards Zhao Jinyan with a knife. Xiao. Brother Xiao. Master Xiao. Have you forgotten? I invited you to dinner. Master Xiao. Puff. In the Demon Suppression Division, killing colleagues is an unforgivable capital crime. In order to prevent the matter from being exposed, there are only 2 choices: either kill all the witnesses, or drag the witnesses into the water. Xiao Yun owed Gu Cheng a life, so he would not make it difficult for him. Besides, Zhao Jinyan was not a good guy. Not only did he bully others by taking advantage of his power, but he also had bad intentions towards his sister before. At this moment, Xiao Yun raised his knife and killed the trash with one blow. He really had no psychological burden at all.